Welcome, everyone. And I'm pleased to introduce the topic of create insurance products your customers will love, presented by Insurance Nexus. And I'd also point out that this web runs alongside the Connected Insurance Conference that runs from November 20 to 21st in Chicago. So please mark your calendars. My name is Alan Demers, and I am your moderator today. And I'm excited about this topic. We have a group of outstanding panelists representing a broad range from startups all the way to very established insurers with over 100 years of service. Their respective organizations stretch from Australia, England, and the US, so I think we have many time zones covered here today. Each are accomplished executives steeped within the insurance industry and are passionate about customers. So this will make for an exciting conversation. So let's hear from the panelists now. I'd like to introduce each one. Let's start first with Adam Fisher from ClearCover.
Thanks, Alan. As you mentioned, my name is Adam Fisher. I am the EVP of Product and Technology at ClearCover. ClearCover is a startup auto insurance company based in Chicago. We're actually officially now a full stack carrier selling in Illinois, and we're an MGA in California. We plan on being in 3 more states by the end of this year with plans to grow in 10 to 15 more states next year. Very excited to speak with all of you today and to talk about something that's I'm very passionate about, as Alan mentioned, to create insurance products that the customers love. It's something that's in the ethos of ClearCover, in our product and engineering team, and it's something we're super excited to talk with these great panelists about today.
Thank you, Adam. Next, let's go to Dylan Remler.
Sorry, on mute there. Hi, I'm Dylan Remler, Senior Vice President of Transformation, leading the Brilliant Basics program across North America for QBE. QBE is a global carrier. We're an integrated specialist in North America, focused on applied expertise, the experience of excellence, and leveraging our global strength here in North America. So I'm very excited to be here. This topic near and dear to our heart. I'll pass it on from there.
Thank you, Dylan. And next we have Devin Wallace from Mass Mutual.
So yes, hello everyone. Devin Wallace. Mass Mutual has been around since 1851, so I would definitely be the one representing the longer-standing company here. And the concept of innovation and just evolving with our customers is something that's very important to us, especially with the longevity. We want to continue to just reinvent ourselves and just make sure that we stay relevant with the changing customer market. So I head up life and annuity claims. So I'm really going to bring that claims perspective. We're here to talk about sales, but that connection point between sales and the ultimate reason why someone buys an insurance product is when they need to use it and file a claim.
Welcome, Devin. And next we have Shane Larkin from NEOS.
Yes, hi everyone. Shane Larkin, I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at NEOS. We're based in the UK and we're a specialist in connected home insurance. So whilst we're based in the UK, we have partnerships in Europe and in the US. Again, for me, the topic of this talk today is very close to our heart.
And again, thank you, Shane. My name is Alan Demers, and a little bit about my background. I have over 30 years working for 2 top 10 carriers, all within the claims space, and I've had the pleasure of leading a number of different roles and assignments in personal, commercial, and specialty lines as an executive leader for the last 15 years. My last role while at Nationwide Insurance was to start up and lead claim innovation, which entailed visioning and reinventing the entire claim process with a focus on customer and company efficiency. And then more recently, I'm pleased to share that I'm running my own consulting firm, and that's officially up and running now, and I work with insurtech startups and providers. So that's our panel, and for your audience, just give you a little bit of perspective here how this will work. I'll give each of the panelists an opportunity to comment on each of the topics, and I'll do my best to balance the questions that the audience raises along the way, saving those for the latter portion of our webinar. So feel free to type in questions as we go along, and we'll get to as many as possible during the session. So let's get started here. Let's set the stage. As we think about the topic itself, there's a lot that can be said about creating products customers love. love is a pretty strong word. So, and it may not always go hand in hand with insurance and insurance products. Some of the products and service themes that we're seeing within the industry today include going beyond the traditional and somewhat reactive insurance model to one that is proactive and engaging with more frequency, unprecedented customer ease, access, and more effortless digital experiences, new ways to offer better pricing and lower premiums, and then additional coverage and protection for current and future changes in technologies and consumer changes such as rideshare, sensor technology, telematics, and of course, autonomous vehicle. So that gives us a little bit of perspective. Let's get into the first question here, and we'll start with Adam and go right through then to Devin, Dylan, and Shane. Adam, how is insurance changing from a reactive model to one that may be more proactive, helping customers prepare, avoid, detect, and even mitigate losses?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, Alan. There's a lot of different companies looking at this very differently. At ClearCover, we're actually we actually believe that at the end of the day, consumers are going to interact with your insurance in a couple of different moments. Obviously, in the purchasing moment, there's going to be some light servicing over time, and then there's going to be certainly a claims moment. We of course always hope there won't be, but we know that's going to happen. And so in those cases, we think it's just important that you are there for the customer when they need it, and you're kind of out of the way when they don't. And so while there are technologies that we are taking a look at that we think could be interesting in the preventative space, we ultimately think that if you just have world-class digital experiences in the moments that matter to those users, they're going to be very happy with your service, and they're going to be excited about continuing with you as a customer.
Thank you, Adam. That's a great perspective. Devin, let's get your thoughts on this question.
Certainly. So, when you think about life insurance, it's essentially preparing for the inevitable. We know, that that's going to happen, and we want to make sure that our advisors are working with our customers and their, whether it's spouses, family members, setting up trust to get them ready for that. The reality is, as a company, our mission is to help people secure their future and protect the ones they love. So when we talk about the word love, that word is in our mission. Everyone that works for this company understands that it's part of the service that we're providing to our customers. And we recognize that needs are going to evolve and change over time. We're starting some, I would say, early work with our data scientists to try to do some predictive modeling, both within our disability claims and within our life insurance claims. We have not quite gotten to the point to roll that out to the customers. It's more of an internal focus. But when I think about being reactive or proactive as opposed to reactive, we are doing some work there. And then the other thing I would say is, that the claim is the moment of truth. And what we look to do when we're handling claims is we want to be quick and accurate. We know those things are important, and we also want to be empathetic. And I bring that up because I think it ties into the love aspect. It ties into the fact that people are coming to us in a time of need. So empathy is something that's important to us. So as we go forward and become more of a digital operation and have more, we're expanding our online capabilities, we do want to make sure that that empathy and that human touch portion is still in place.
Terrific. Dylan, let's get your perspective.
Well, thank you, Alan. From my perspective, the industry is at a really interesting inflection point. There's a combination of interesting technologies out there and approaches, right? So if you think about, there's prevention, through risk management, there's detection through all kinds of emerging sensors and telematics and wearables, and there's also mitigation, right? So there's just traditional, how are we out there mitigating those risks that we see? And so it's a really interesting moment with all of this new technology coming on. And if you think about other industries, customers have made this implicit bargain with other service providers outside of our industry, where they're providing environmental and behavioral data in exchange for services. And service providers are providing, listening devices and watching them and tracking them in return for very useful services. And I expect this will become the new insurance industry norm over time. But for now, I think insurance carriers are evaluating the landscape of insurtech options. And this really creates the need for a clear transition strategy that keeps pace with consumer adoption of these technologies and the evolving marketplace. So it's a very interesting time for us.
No doubt. Excellent comments, Dylan. I appreciate that. And then Shane, I want to get your perspective because I know your model is very active and engaging throughout the life cycle of the insurance policy, if you will. So let's hear from you, Shane.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a great question, and as you mentioned there, we come at it from a slightly different angle, I guess. Being proactive is very much part of our business model. The way I look at this is, particularly in home insurance, if you consider 9 out of 10 customers in any given year probably won't use the insurance they've bought. So it's really hard to become reactive when you don't have those touch points to interact with a customer. So we think something has got to change in that in order to be more proactive, and I guess really get involved with a customer before the event happens rather than just a payout when things go wrong. So for us, we're really recognizing that data and technology can, I suppose, stretch the boundaries of what home insurance is actually defined to be and how it's offered. And for us, that technology is prevention-based smart home technology, which customers can put in their home, and immediately gives them a new perspective on the insurance product that they've purchased. But there's other things alongside that, like data is obviously streamlining services as well. So being able to ask fewer questions for a quote also helps us be more efficient and be more proactive. And then you've got AI and analytics coming along that are just going to make things smarter and more predictive. So we're really saying that the insurance industry is brilliantly placed to be an authority on how to manage risk better, and devices and technology is one way of doing that. And if you then look on the trends of smart home assistants like Alexa, being integrated with those technologies is going to become the norm, and as I say, whilst technology can't control the weather, for many other perils, it can really make a difference. So, I think there's a great opportunity for the insurance industry to embrace this and become more proactive.
Thank you, Shane. Let's maybe back up on this next question and start at the beginning. So how do you identify what customers want and love in the first place? So maybe let's hear from Adam, and how do you go about setting that stage and early on figuring out what customers want?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it starts with making sure you have an organizational ethos that puts the customer first. And if you do that, you then make sure that everyone in your organization rallies around, how do we get that feedback from the customer? Are we craving it? Is it imbued in everything we do? And so at ClearCover, being a startup, it could be sometimes a little more difficult. We don't have the type of research budget as some of the larger incumbents. We don't have the ability to talk to thousands of people, at once. And so we've found ways to make sure that in everything we do, in all the features we ship, and all the designs we're working on, that we're constantly getting user feedback. It's a funny story. When we started, we were trying to get some of this feedback on an early design. And again, being a small startup with not a lot of cash, my designer and myself were going outside of a Starbucks, just offering $5 Starbucks gift cards to get any type of feedback we could get. And what was fascinating about that endeavor was nobody wanted to talk to us. Perhaps they thought we were crazy, and maybe we were. But we finally went to a park right down the street. People were walking by, and we kept going with the pitch, like, hey, we can give you a gift card for your ideas. We can give you a gift card for your ideas. At one point, I just changed my sales pitch, and I said, hey, would you have a few minutes to give us some of your feedback on something we've been working on? And to a person, they all stopped and gave us their time. So when we were trying to incentivize them for this feedback, a lot of people were kind of waving this off. But when we just said, look, we want to hear what you think. We want to hear what you feel about this. To a person, every single person stopped to talk to us. So not only is it important to get that feedback and bring it into your product, your users and your customers are waiting to give you that feedback. People want to know that you're listening to them very deeply and that you're taking their experiences, you're being empathetic to them, and you're shaping your experiences to ensure you're meeting their needs.
Very interesting. Good case study too. Devin, let's hear from you. What do you think about identifying what customers want and love in the first place?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on this. So we recently rolled out some strategic mandates across the organization, and one of them was to provide experiences that customers love. And again, kind of going back to that word, we've been kind of talking about that a little bit, but we think that's important to make sure that whenever we're building out new products, whenever we're coming out with new features, and whether it's service features or how we work with our customers, that would be an experience that they're going to love. How do we gather feedback? So we do it in traditional ways through voice of customer surveys that we send out, both from our new business area, our service operations, and our claims areas. We also encourage our associates when they're on the phone with an insured, when they're working with somebody, that they're just asking questions and jotting things down. We're a lean operation, so we do have a huddle process. We have a problem-solving process. If anybody on the call here is familiar with that. So we make sure that these ideas that come directly from our customers are bubbled up immediately. We explore them, we look into them, assess feasibility. Maybe we do a pilot to see if it's something that we can do. So we want to make sure that we take those ideas and act on them quickly. And we also ask our associates, across the organization, independent of job title, what sort of ideas they think we should bring to the table. The reality is we're all customers. I think, sometimes in the business world, you think of the customer being somebody outside of you or outside of your organization. We're all customers, we're all consumers. We all have our expectations of how we engage and interact with companies. So we want to ask ourselves some of those questions, and again, bubble up those ideas and try to make them happen.
Thanks, Devin. That's quite the mandate. I think if we had this webinar 5 or even 10 years ago, we probably wouldn't have heard anything quite like that. So that's interesting. Dylan, let's get your 2 cents on this topic.
So in thinking about what customers love in the first place, I'd be remiss to say that one of the brand tenets of QBE is the experience of excellence. And we start with the premise that you really don't know what customers love until they've tried the product out, right? And in today's environment, that really means having a claim. Presumably in the future, it'll mean also include to a greater degree prevention and detection and mitigation. We've invested quite heavily in a dynamic claim handling survey process that leverages behavioral science that better connects with our customers so we can understand their perspective. So we really understand what they love in terms of our service and products that we're offering and where we need to improve. And we found this approach because we have so many touch points with customers to be really insightful, and it's provided us both comprehensive and specific actionable data that's allowed us to continue to tailor our process and optimize those strengths, delivering the products and services that they love. And so I think the folks that spoke for me were all recognizing one of the key places that we're gathering that information, really understanding what customers want. It is listening to the voice of the customer wherever it is in that process.
Excellent. Shane, what do you have to say about all this?
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of points that have been made already. So I guess the first starting point that we come from is because we work in the industry, it's very difficult for us to think and act like a typical customer would, because we know a lot more about the industry, and we're obviously biased about our own products and thoughts. So certainly as a startup, I think one of the great advantages we have is that literally the product teams sit right next to the customer support team. So we get to hear very quickly what customers like and don't like about what we're doing, and that's something we look to encourage people to spend time with the customer-facing teams to really hear firsthand some of these stories and these pleasure points and pain points in terms of the product. In addition, we very much listen out on our social media channels and the review platforms, and make sure we give customers every opportunity to really come back to us with their thoughts. And we carry out regular surveys to check in. But similar to Adam's story about the Starbucks and people wanting to give their feedback even when not incentivized, one of the things we do is we invite our customers to become part of a sort of testing community, and we really encourage them to be critical friends really, and give us some great feedback on the products that we offer before we go out to market. And we find that these customers are really engaged. They really want to give us their feedback, and we rely on them a lot to help us shape what we do. And they're not incentivized. They're just enthusiastic about what we're doing, which is great. And then I suppose the last thing that we do and really believe in, and it's sort of taking some learning, I guess, from the tech world, is about really learning in the wild. So we think the best way to learn is to really get stuff out there and to test it live with customers. So the use of prototypes, the use of minimum viable products, anything that we can do where we can get to the market faster, cheaper, and learn quicker is an approach we like to take. And I know that can be difficult in a regulated environment, because obviously there's a lot more that needs to go around a product before it's sort of market ready. But in my experience, certainly usually the sort of the time and the cost is very much in the integration of new products into existing systems. And so if you can find a way of getting the product to market in a light way without those existing constraints, then actually you can learn a lot quicker and get that feedback real time from customers, and iterate from that point on. But I think overall it's just about staying close to the customers and listening.
Yeah, thank you, Shane. And so probably the aspect of not of listening to customers is not new, but I think what's refreshing and what resonates here across this panel is just the depth of listening, and the fact that senior level people in the organizations are hearing, because there's often that barrier of what the customer thinks and says in it reaching the top levels of the organization. So that's great to hear. Shift gears a little bit, and assuming there is a relationship between customer love and insurer success, because at the end of the day, insurance company wants to be profitable and grow. And so it's while it's important to have high levels of satisfaction, it's not the sole priority. So let's talk a little bit more about what are the products and services driving growth, retention, and profitability, and how do you intertwine the two between love and insurer success? So right back to the top of the list with Adam.
Yeah, Alan, Shane made a really good point in the last round around kind of borrowing concepts from kind of larger tech companies. And I think it's important to note that as you build out your engineering and your product, your technical product infrastructure, it's important to build out an organization that works like those big tech companies who are super user focused, who are super customer focused. And I think because of that, we hire product managers, we hire engineering leads who come from more of that world, right? They come less from a project-based kind of IT world, and they come more from a product-focused development lifecycle. And what that allows you to do is to think differently. It allows you to put the customer at the center differently. And so, for example, we have a really nice mix at ClearCover of kind of folks who have worked for other tech companies and folks who have come from a lot of traditional insurance companies. And so when it came time to design our renewal process, one of the things that the product team at ClearCover was very adamant about is we have to be super transparent about the pricing, whether it's going up or it's going down. And there's a lot of folks who kind of came from some of the larger incumbents who kind of looked at us funny, like, well, wait, like, why would you do that? What are you thinking? But we were adamant about it. We're like, no, like, look, put yourself as a customer. If you have a rate increase, just tell them, right? Let them know. And not only that, like, for example, in our mobile app, not only do we tell you have a rate increase, we actually tell you how much it went up. and give you some reasons why. And as a result, we've recently gotten some reviews, completely unsolicited, of our product, where we have one customer in particular who said, "Look, I've never seen this before." And so even though my rate went up, I'm going to stay with this company because they did something like this, right? And so when you resonate with the consumer on a level that's just very honest and very transparent, they'll stay with you because you're providing, again, the easy experiences, you're providing the right experiences, and you're talking to them like they're, just like the way you want to be talked to, the way you would want to be treated as a customer. And as a result, they'll stick with you, even if there's some price sensitivities, even if there's some things that change down the road. They react very positively. And so when you think about, our product team thought about what would be a renewal process we would love. We thought about price transparency being at the top of it. And as a result, it's paying off. We are seeing the retention come in, even when we sometimes don't have the best news for the customer.
That's fantastic. Devin, let's hear from you.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I was just kind of listening to what Adam was just saying, and I just want to say, also at Mass Mutual, we're hiring, different types of candidates, I would say, than we would have hired 10 or 15 years ago. 10 or 15 years ago in insurance, you look at a resume and, all right, how many years of insurance background experience does this person have? Would they fit with this company? Now we're looking more broadly, and people with different types of experience, whether it's, technology, whether it's, we just hired a senior person in our HR area who worked at a college for 30 years. And I just think that that's a different approach that we're taking. We value diversity and inclusion, and I would just extend, traditionally what people think of diversity, I would extend that to skill sets and knowledge that people have. So by having a different workforce, different perspectives, it's helping us think differently, and it's helping us come up with new and innovative ideas. When I think about growth and retention, kind of back to your original question, so we're a mutual insurance company, so our success and our customer success are very much interconnected. I came from a public insurance company, and just really resonate that difference of what it means to be mutual. Mutuality is very important to Mass Mutual. If anybody's seen any of our commercials, we talk about living mutual, and we do that in every step of the way. And retention, in my mind, it just has to do with how you treat your customers. You're going to get referrals, you're going to get family members. I focus a lot on claims. So at the point of a claim, you want to do everything you can for that family member. So whether they're going to retain the business with you or whether they're going to talk to friends and family about their experience and bring new business to Mass Mutual is important to us. And then, just the last thing I would say is that we've really, over the past couple of years, focused on our beneficiary experience. We've built out electronic claim forms. So, a lot of folks are probably familiar with DocuSign. So we partner with DocuSign. You can now digitally sign our claim forms. We've got an active portal on our website where you can report a claim, get information, frequently asked questions, and set expectations. We do electronic funds transfer. We have interest-bearing accounts. So we really expanded our offerings for our customers, both to retain the money and to make the process easier for them.
Excellent. Great to hear all those flexible options and how much that has changed of recent. So, Dylan, let's get your perspective on this one.
Sure. When we think about growth and retention, it really is the experience of excellence that drives retention and therefore growth. In some cases, it's ease of doing business. In other cases, it's really the applied technical expertise that matters. But in all cases where there's a claim, right, it's the claim experience that matters. Someone earlier said the moment of truth, which is an industry truism, and it's how that claim is handled versus customer expectations. And for us, there's a wide playing field from personal line customers to very sophisticated large corporate customers. And for us, that means very different things. Sometimes it's ease of use, it's speed of transaction, and other times it's deep technical expertise. And in this context of this conversation, we are spending, this is our third full year on our journey tremendous amount of effort and investment with cross-functional teams like other members on this committee have mentioned, with lots of big diverse background, all focused on improving that experience of excellence. And whether that is we're building internal models, partnering with external model builders, bringing in digital capabilities with partners, optimizing our procurement space, all of these things are focused on that experience of excellence, and in particular, a heavy emphasis on claim handling and the outcome of claims vis-a-vis a customer expectation. So that's how we think of this space.
Excellent. And, you know, I think a lot of the conversation here has been steered toward the service experience, which, you know, you can argue the product and the service, they go hand in glove. And as we go to Shane, I think maybe if we can get a little bit more perspective on the differences that you're adding into your products and the different offerings that are actually part of the product or the insurance side of the equation itself. I think that'd be interesting to hear some. So I don't put you on the spot there, Shane, but I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. So if I take that perspective on this question. So in the UK and the home insurance market, there's no doubt price is still one of the primary factors for purchase in the industry, and particularly when we have things like comparison websites here, which make that very transparent. So we've had to think long and hard about how do you really differentiate your product and create more value for customers, but stay in within a really competitive price point. And you know, whilst we'd love to think customers see value in preventing escape of water claims, the truth is they don't unless it's happened to them. But we do see affordable security related tech as a real differentiator that people do engage with, and that is that can be a real driver of growth. And the way that we see this then going is, once someone has that first piece of technology in the house, they are very soon looking at where they go next. So there's a natural bridge then into other products that may be designed for things like prevention of escape of water, or more suited around fire hazards, but you can build that ecosystem out. So our philosophy is you get a product in there that is relatively low cost, that can be taken within a competitive price point, and then build out from that perspective. And in terms of retention, we have already established a proven link between people who are using the technology and retention. And it's quite a big difference. We are seeing something like a 9-point difference between those who are using the technology and those who aren't. And if you apply that sort of percentage to anybody's retention number, that's an incredible impact on the lifetime value of a customer. So you then add in new revenue streams that the technology provides. So things like subscription services. As I mentioned before, people looking to purchase more technology from you. You add in the sort of brand exposure that you get every time someone goes into an app to use the technology. Something that that doesn't traditionally happen with a lot of insurance products right now. You don't have to go into that app that often, but with something that's technology driven, you are visiting that app a lot. So there's great brand exposure and engagement opportunity that has longer term benefit. And whilst it's still early days in terms of its sort of impact on claims, we are starting to see early signs there of improvement as well. So we see that there is definitely a traditional insurance model, and you have to get the fundamentals right there. But the extra layer of technology is providing new conversations, new revenue streams, and improving retention.
Yeah, it also sounds like you're redefining what protection means in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is, as I mentioned earlier, about trying to really stretch the boundaries of what a home insurance product can be. and bring that philosophy through to customers in a form that actually is tangible and they can use every day.
Excellent. I'd like to remind the audience, we'll be taking some questions, so feel free to start typing, and if you want to direct your question to an individual, just say so. If not, we'll try to answer those at random as they pop up. So let's now kind of talk about where things are headed. I think that's where a lot of people are interested, is what lies ahead in our future. So where do you see the products and services headed in this competitive and technology-driven changing landscape? So let's get Adam first, as always here. That's what you get for having a first name that starts with an A, Adam.
Yeah, I was just commenting to an employee who's listening along, saying my name starting with A is a blessing and a curse. But I've experienced this for many years of life. Let's say only 25. But the way we've always approached a question like this at ClearCover is to think of what we're building as more of an insurance platform. And so what does that mean? The joke I like to make, and I mean no offense, but the joke I like to make to certain candidates is that they're potentially applying to work at ClearCover is, look, like there's a lot of incumbents out there who had to deal with Y2K, right? And so we've had the benefit of kind of starting our tech stack from scratch. And when we've built it, we've been thinking about building insurance more as a service and insurance as a platform. And as a result, wherever some of these things shake out, especially in the auto industry, right? Like there's a lot of interest around autonomy. There's a lot of interest of what mobility, where car ownership is going to go in the future. We know that there's always going to be an opportunity for insurance in those moments. And so the more we think of what we provide is more of a platform than just say, well, we have a specific product and we're going to market it very heavily, or we have these great digital experiences and this is all we're going to be. We first start at the platform level and then we put edge services on top of it, because right now those edge services are the ones that are going to change dramatically over the next 10 years. And so instead of saying all we do is invest in the edge services, it's we invest in the platform, we build great edge services, and then as new edge services come into the marketplace, we can make sure we have a platform that can serve them.
Makes sense, makes perfect sense. Devin, your thoughts?
Yeah, so my first thought with the last name of Wallace, I'm used to going last, so I like this first name going second and following Adam. It's kind of unique for me. My wife's last name began with a B and she had to downgrade to go to a W, so I was just thinking about that. I should have said at the beginning, but Mass Mutual's core focus really life insurance, annuities, disability, and long-term care. So if you think about those products, we are looking to expand options, introduce flexibility where we can. And two of the things that I think we have in our product mindset and in our claims mindset is simplicity. We want to make things as simple as possible. We don't want the purchase of life insurance and buying an annuity to feel overly complex, be a very paper-bound process as it's historically been. Moving that to digital and just simplifying it. The other focus of ours is transparency. So we are looking to get better at, our servicing model, both with claims and with any servicing, any post-issue operations that we're doing, to provide transparency to our customers. Ultimately to minimize phone calls. I mean, we still get, a lot more status phone calls, I think, than we would like, and perhaps than our customers would want. So we're looking to build out that transparency so they can just have a clear understanding of the status of, again, a claim or any sort of a service transaction. And then the other thing I would say that we're mindful of as we're looking to, build out more automation, more web capabilities, is that, we also have a client base that at times does want to pick up the phone. They do want to talk to us. When we send out our claim forms, we would love to send them all out as electronic documents through PDFs and email and DocuSign. And we have plenty of customers that still want a packet to come in the mail. That may be a spouse of theirs, they were married for 50 years, this person passed away, and there's something about that tangible claim packet coming in the mail, and there's something about a physical paper check being sent in the mail that we're still going to be asked to do. So we're going to continue to evolve and build out the technology, but I just want to offer we need to balance out to have the more traditional methods available to our customer base as well.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Different customer types and, dealing with the here and now plus preparing for the future. Dylan, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I guess this is the big question, right? Everyone has their eye on the future. And when you think about the products and services that the future holds, we go back to our core tenets of the experience of excellence, applied expertise, and global strength will all still be critical for us and our brand execution in the future. And so when we think about the evolving landscape of digital and data and analytics and artificial intelligence, we see all these capabilities as really enhancements to that three tenets that I mentioned of our brand strategy. In terms of how we are going about this, because I think that might be helpful to some on the call, we've held innovation summits. And so 2 years ago, we held our first summit, and we had 20 some odd insurtechs of all different sizes and shapes and maturities, come through our doors and basically express their value proposition and how we might be able to partner with them. We're about to run our second summit in the beginning of next year. And those things all flow into what we pick up there, whether it's real tangible partnership or it's getting a line of sight on emerging technologies and how that might feed our brand and our strategy and how we want to execute against the experience of excellence. Those things all flow into our thinking. So that's sort of how we approach this space at a North American level. And then at a global level, we actually have an innovation team that's out there partnering with insurtechs on a global level that flows down to the different regions for us. So we're really tackling the space from two different perspectives, both global and regional.
Excellent. And I'm going to switch out of order here, Shane. So thank you for going last on each one of the questions. We're going to circle back to you, but we have a couple from the audience that I'd like to filter in so we can balance our time well here. So Shane, maybe I'll give you a first crack at this one. Now we can go to one of the other panelists. But the question comes in is this: can you please share your visions and expectations on how you see the big insurers partnering with smaller insurtech firms, particularly in the life and retirement space? Actually, if Shane, okay with you, I think, Devin, that sounds like it may be well suited for you. So Devin, you want to take first crack at that one?
Certainly.
Small insurtech firms, I think that's a great question.
Yeah, definitely. So if I think about, some of the partnerships we have today, the partnerships of the future, I think the landscape is probably going to change. We are always open to, working with others through whether it's through our new business area, through the partnerships that our financial advisors have, or whether it's strategic partnerships with vendor relationships, with how we work with other companies to deliver better products and services. We're in the process right now of building out a new claims platform, so there's a partnership that we're engaged in there. So I would say that our eyes are open, recognizing that things are going to change and that we're going to have to operate differently going forward.
Yeah, and I'd add my own 2 cents because that's where I spend a lot of my time is helping insurtechs connect with insurers, and it's not easy, right? Because a smaller insurtech firm squaring off with a massive company that may have all sorts of different departments and organizations to interact with, and so I find the innovation teams are really helpful because they're looking for the types of goods and services that the insurtechs provide. I also think finding the right people inside the organization is important. So Shane, I'm going to switch over to you. I think this question is well suited for you, and it says, what other touch points do you recommend to have with the customer instead of the current one touch point on rate renewals, which could not be the best news to help with retention? So how do you stay engaged with them throughout rather than just billing?
Yes, it's a great question and an age-old issue as well for the insurance industry. So I guess coming from it, this question from a perspective of what we're doing at NEOS, that I think the thing about touch points are they need to be relevant, and they need to add value to the customer. So that's the first, really, the first starting point for looking at where else you might be able to help a customer during that policy lifetime before renewal. So in our situation, where we have the smart tech installed for customers, it provides a natural touch point with us in a way that customers wouldn't have expected to interact with an insurer previously. So when we have, and you see on our social channels, you have people sharing clips from their cameras, and it may just be a pet doing a funny thing, but there's a sort of a warmth and a relevance to why they're interacting with us, and obviously we are also sending them alerts and notifications when the technology has detected an incident. So again, it's relevant, it's timely, and it's something the customer welcomes. And I think that's the key to it. We come at it from a technology perspective. For others who are not offering technology, it's a similar challenge. It's finding that relevant and value-adding touch point. So it can't be forced. It has to be invested in, I think. And for us, invested in the prevention aspects of our offering has been the key to that.
Yeah, excellent. We're getting some really great questions, by the way, from the audience, so thank you for that. And I'll open this one up to whoever on the panel thinks they'd like to address this one. But what kinds of risks does an organization face when introducing customer interaction technology such as a phone app? And I think what they're getting at there is now using digital and assets that may put the organization more at risk from things like cyber. Anyone want to tackle that one?
Well,
So this is
hi, it's Dylan.
go ahead.
I knew it
Sorry.
would happen. Go ahead.
So Dylan at QBE, I'll make it brief. From a cyber perspective, we have global standards. We have a group architectural board that ensures, for instance, we were just having a really dynamic discussion around the integration layer for bringing on, for introducing models into our claim handling system, both internally built and external, and also applications from different vendors into. We had some competing ideas. We discussed those ideas, but there is a board that thinks about long-term infrastructure, sustainability, reusability, and certainly cyber, and beyond that, there's also the concern when you're using a third party around privacy data, right? So there are all kinds of challenges in that space. So we have a very clear set of standards. That's how we approach it.
And I think maybe somebody else on the panel wanted to chime in as well.
Yeah, sorry, this is Devin. Sorry, Dylan, if I was cutting you off there. But yeah, I would just say, fraud awareness, cybersecurity has just become an increasing focus within our organization, probably has across most. We're actively engaged with our peer group to understand what they're doing. We have verification tools, we have customer authentication tools that we're using, and we're constantly, if you think about partnerships, we're constantly finding new technologies as we're essentially trying to outpace potential fraudsters, whether it's trying to get access to individual accounts or more of our data. So it's a key focus of ours, and it's one that we want to balance because we do know that we need to leverage technology, offer more to our customers, and at the same token, making sure that we protect ourselves and protect the integrity of our data.
Great.
And Alan, I just want to chime in. This is Adam. I would actually say, there's always going to be the standard risks, and I think our other panelists have covered it, pretty clearly. Anytime you build, solid technology, you have to keep security in mind, you have to keep privacy in mind, et cetera. And those are always the basics, but that's kind of table stakes for anything you build, right? I actually think one of the risks you take the most when you're building something like a phone app or a digital experience is that you're constantly improving it. And so, once you go into that space, users are going to expect then that most everything is digital, right? They're going to expect situations. I mean, it took us a little longer than we wanted to, for example, on our side to roll out payments in our app. And literally the day we rolled it out, we had hundreds of people pay their their payments through our app, and we hadn't even sent out a marketing email, just because they had the expectation that we have an app. We kind of brand ourselves as digital first, so they had the expectation that these features were there. And for as long as some of those features aren't there, they let us know. They leave reviews in the App Store, they leave reviews in the Google Play Store. And so one of the risks you do run is to make sure that you are feature rich in these digital experiences that you're offering. And if you're not, your consumers will let you know.
Points. And this question, I think, could maybe be best suited for Dylan or Devin. And we get a couple along these lines. So how do you see insurance product innovation evolving with technology for insurance products designed for institutional clients as opposed to individuals? And there was another question about similar, where maybe dealing with a broker channel. So I think recognizing here that not all customers are the same, not all insurance products are the same. You have different kinds of financial products and insurance products that we're talking about today. So, Dylan, why don't we give you a shot at that one?
Sure. So for us, I mentioned this before. Some of our customers value ease of use or speed. Others value in the institutional space in particular that full range, including technical expertise. And so we're building technologies that improve our process from claim handling for each of these channels. And so some we're really focused on giving our claim professionals who handle claims the tools to make that process very fast and very efficient. We're looking at rolling out straight-through processing for certain property claims in the very near future. And so think about renters or a property claim, a homeowner that has a small claim, will be able to handle that very quickly. But on the flip side, our larger institutional customers are looking for loss information. They're looking for deep technical expertise to guide them on possibly one of the worst claims that they've ever seen, right? But it's not the worst claim we've ever seen. And so it's providing the right tools to manage that process.
Excellent. Got a couple more I want to try to squeeze in here, so we'll move quickly. But this is a really insightful question that talks about the collection of data and how it's tied to innovation, and maybe how do you engage the customer's understanding? So the example they used was in telematics. So Adam, I'm thinking that may suit you well, but there's a whole customer learning curve and understanding that their car is collecting and sharing data, for example. So how do you bring the customer along?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And as a matter of fact, I would kind of throw this one to Shane. At ClearCover, we actually offer a pretty traditional product, partially because at least in auto and home is definitely different. I think that what the folks at Neos are doing is fantastic. But on auto, a lot of what you're describing is still niche, at least when you listen to consumer surveys, you see what they want. And so we haven't had to take that challenge up. But I think Shane's in a sweet spot of having to work through that with consumers for sure.
Yeah, happy to jump in on that one. So yeah, absolutely. A key, I guess, part of technology is that it does allow you to capture data. So in addition to the normal insurance data that you would collect, there's devices that are collecting data around alerts and when they're armed, etc. And you're getting data from the app as well. So there's a great responsibility with that. We have a very clear privacy policy with our customers. Customers can opt out of that data being collected by us if they wish to. And what we try and do is we don't use the data against our customers, if that makes sense. So if for example, you have a claim and yeah, we know that your tech wasn't turned on that day, it doesn't matter. You know, that we're not collecting data for that purpose. We're collecting data in order to improve what we're doing and to improve the products and improve the experience that that we're giving people. So we're very clear what we collect. We're very clear about you can opt out, and we're not using the data in a way that can negatively impact customers. As I say, we're very early days. You know, there's still a lot to learn, and there's still a lot that I'm sure will come out of the data analytics as we build more data points. But at this stage, I think it's just about being very transparent with customers and yeah, making sure that our data security and our privacy policies are watertight.
Excellent. And we have another question here. How do you think and plan for the future of personal lines insurance with all the rapid technology-driven changes emerging? And I think it's, you know, the personal lines is changing, you know, quicker than some of the other lines. Does anyone have a perspective on that one?
So one of the things I just to throw in there, and it was sort of going to be my answer to the question about where the industry is heading, but I think collaborations is the key. I feel that there's a lot of organizations there who are and startups and at different stages of life who are able to bring complementary skills to that thinking. I think it's very difficult for a company to do everything from their internal perspective. So bringing in partners, experts, that can just help bring to light, shine a torch in a few corners that you may not even thought about, and keep on top of technology trends. And I'll use an example. For us, we work very closely with the Alexa team at Amazon. They are obviously spearheading, smart home interoperability, and so being able to sit with them and just learn where things are going is a great help and gives us more insight than we would have ever be able to get ourselves. So I think collaborations, partnerships can just help you stay in touch with what's going on and help you plan better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree.
I was just going to, Dylan from QBE, I was just going to offer, I completely agree with that perspective of the partnership. The challenge for the carrier is really understanding the value proposition, because there are so many options out there that are emerging. And so if you have the right line of sight on your value proposition, you have the right line of sight on your transition strategy, it's easier to navigate this rapidly emerging field of all of these different capabilities. And that would be my only guidance.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this one. The partnership piece is crucial and makes all the difference, particularly when you think about some of the products and services that are being offered today that weren't around just a few years ago. So bringing in that fresh perspective is at least one way. I think we're getting close to the countdown here. We probably have room for just one more quick one, and then we'll wrap things up. And I think the question here, I'm looking for it, Shane, was to you, as you made comments on using new tech to engage customers and additional revenue streams. Have you, I guess, essentially thought of cybersecurity as part of your package? And I'll have to have you answer that one quickly, because we'll wrap up here real soon.
So in short, yes, it's something we've thought about. And yeah, it's not something that we've introduced yet, but it's sort of on the watch list.
Excellent. Well, this has been outstanding, and I know we only scratched the surface today. I think what a terrific lineup of panelists, and you see their names and have their information if you want to connect with them. Thank you, gentlemen, for making this easy for me to ask you such great questions from the audience, and your participation today. And then for the audience, again, thank you for being part of Insurance Nexus webinar today. And don't forget the Connected Insurance Conference in Chicago, November 20 and 21st. Mark your calendars and can make it in. Paul, I'm going to turn it back to you. And I guess that's a wrap. Thank
And
you,
we should
everybody.
also thank Alan.